What up, fools? It's Solar. Today we're going to be having a look at 2D tracking and why this is also still very important. So let's say I want to track something to this dude here, right? Now, how am I going to do that? Because even though the scene is moving, he's moving at a different speed to the scene. If I tried to get a tracker on this dude, you need to understand the difference between a 3D and a 2D track. So if I create a null on this guy, let's have a look at that. It's not going to move with him. It's going to be on him there, which is when we created it. But you know, what it's actually trying to do is just move with the camera. It's not saying, oh, I understand that you want to track this guy. So what we can do is actually track him manually, and we're going to track an item within a scene, which is going to create a 2D track instead of a 3D track. So let's attempt that. So the way to create a 2D track is you select your footage and you come to the tracker. Now I don't have it open here, so I'm going to come to Window and Tracker, which is here, and what we're going to do is we're going to track motion. So click on track motion, and this is going to take us into our layer panel. So just this is the composition, this is the layer panel. In the layer panel is where all this kind of stuff will work. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, and you're going to see we've got this little point here, and what I'm going to attempt to do is move it over this guy's head, and I'm going to explain. So you've got two boxes, right? You've got this box here, and I'm going to place it on this guy's head. So what we're looking now for is a pattern. Now the pattern for me is going to be this guy's head, because this guy's head is not going to change too much. You know, the angle to which he's facing the camera, he doesn't turn left or right. So like, if we're basically telling After Effects to search for this guy's face, now obviously the stuff behind him is going to change. So it might struggle, but let's see. And then this wider box is how far outside of this box it wants to search for this pattern on every frame. So let's just and what we're going to do is just search for position. We don't mind, I don't really care about his scale or his rotation, I just want to follow his face. So what we're going to do is you can analyze forwards or backwards. I can analyze one frame or as many frames to the end of the composition. So I'm going to do that, I'm going to try that and hit that. And as you can see, it's doing a pretty good job. Now it's starting to slip here, so we'll stop and adjust it, but I'm going to let it finish. I'm going to let you finish. As you can see here, it's starting to slip, but it's actually done a pretty decent job. So I'm going to stop there. Let's come to where it starts to slip, maybe here. Maybe adjust it ever so slightly. Change the size of the box, and we're gonna keep analyzing. Okay, now I've given myself a little problem in that where I adjusted the track there. If I zoom in, so as you can see here, this is the path. So maybe I just want to smooth that out a tiny bit, just to make sure that you know, the path doesn't jump. But I'm going to say that looks pretty good. If we come back and we scrub through, so obviously let's go to the first frame, which is, if I hit U, I can bring up my tracker. So if we look on the timeline here, we can see this is the first frame I tracked. Now I can try tracking backwards as well. Let's see how that works. I'm just going to do this frame by frame until I feel we're losing him. Now at this point, like, this is probably, we can scale this down a bit, because we know we don't want any of the pattern behind him. We just want to keep tracking the guy's face, right? So let's say we're kind of happy with that, and if we follow this through, we can see that looks pretty good. There's a thing called confidence here, and it's kind of like how it's After Effects trying to guess how accurate it is, really, a bit like the camera track. But you know, from the looks of it, I think that looks pretty good to me. And so what we've done here is a 2D track. So even though we're in a 3D shot, we're tracking a 2D pattern, which is this guy's face, right? Now we need to apply this track to something. So again, that something in this case is going to be a null. For some reason my tracker changed from transform to raw. We're going to want transform because, let me just delete this other tracker. So select tracker 1 and make sure this is on transform, because for some reason mine had slipped to raw. And what we're going to track here is just the position. So we're going to give it a target to apply all this information to, right? So if we go to edit target, and it's going to select null 1, I can call this track info, if that's what you, if that's easier for you to remember. So now that's track info. Options, all this is fine by default, you shouldn't need to change that. And that should be it. So we're just going to hit apply now. Sorry, that, and then we're going to apply X and Y, which is left and up. So that's okay. Now it's going to, if we hit OK, we're going to come back into our composition and see we have a null object for this guy now. And as you can see here, that's following his face. And what we can now do is create text again. So I'm going to come up to here, my text tool. This guy. There we go, scale that down. And again, I'm going to shift and hit parent, move it to track info. Maybe don't need the text to be that big. I don't. And there we should have it. This guy is going to follow that dude. Obviously here, his face goes off the screen, so we might need to, if we come into the info here, probably maybe delete everything after this frame. So it holds, and then that's the last one. So I'm going to come into here and delete everything after here. Delete those two, and then everything. Oops. Oh, I've managed to full screen myself. Nightmare. There we go. Man, I'm the worst today. This is sloppy. Okay, sorry, I somehow managed to maximize my screen there by accident. So if we delete all those and then we move this, try and like just manually get it to follow him off the screen. Job done. Close layer. There we go. Okay, so that's how to create a 2D track. And you could say then you wanted to track this girl, you could just right click again, not right click, select it, go to track motion again. It will take you into here. We're going to get a new track point. I'm going to place that on her face. I'm going to scale it up, and then off you go again. Just try and search for that kind of pattern. Her head is quite long, so we're going to make this search area that big. Basically, the bigger this search area, the smoother your track is going to be, but probably less accurate. The tighter it is. As long as she doesn't move too radically in the frame, it should keep up with and be accurate, but it might be a little bumpy, so you need to kind of figure that out. And again, I would try and track target, and I would just track forward. And again, it's done a pretty good job up until the point where she goes off screen, obviously. So there you have it, and then I would just create a new null. That is null 2. Call it this girl, and then again edit the target, make it this girl, hit OK, apply it, X and Y, and then come back into our comp, and then now we have a track for her as well. And then duplicate that, shift parent to this girl, and then there we have it. Change that to girl, and so on and so forth. So that's the basics of 2D tracking and why sometimes it can be more interesting than 3D tracking. So there we go, we got that. And you could then, get this text to animate on. So if we do a little a little typewriter, I believe is the effect. If we come into here, this guy, and so at this point, you know, that would kind of write on. So you can have lots of fun with this kind of stuff. And yeah, that's the basics of 2D tracking. Hope you guys have fun with this, and I'll see you in the next lesson.